Hello, we seem to be live.
I think we are.
Hello. Oh, hello. We've got Becky in already. Hello, lovely. Evening, witches. Oh, yes, it's been quite witchy today. Just had a bit of a moment. I was just telling Heather, I had a bit of a moment, Becky. So I've had a real ghostly week. I've been watching and reading all stuff about ghosts and stuff, which I've been finding interesting, and talking about it at moots and all sorts of stuff. And yeah, so just before getting myself ready to come on this evening, I watched just a very quick 7-minute video on YouTube on hi Jane. Just was watching a very quick video on YouTube channel for one of the people that I like called Obsolete Oddity. If you haven't seen them, go and check them out. They're really good. And it was about this haunted house, and person in there had died, and a house clearance person had gone in, been sort of finally sort of found that was not too squeamish, I think, and basically wasn't interested in that kind of stuff, found it a load of old tosh. And he was filming in the bathroom 2 minutes into the video. Filming in the bathroom, looked like there was blood splatter all over the place. It probably wasn't, but that's what it looked like. And this strange moaning started happening, which you could hear over the top of the video. And then the presence basically smacked the camera out of the house clearance guy's hands. He picked it up and scarfed it. So I watched that and I thought, well, that was interesting. Went off in the bathroom to brush my teeth, turned on the tap. My pipe, which never makes a noise, went, oh, oh no. Oh, God. Timing. We did have the waterboard in today, and they did some, I think they put a new meter in or something. So that's probably why, airlock. But timing wise, oh, and it just needed so, oh dear, it was a little bit. We've got another Becky in as well, I think, or Rebecca.
We've got Becca to Duke.
Where are we? Oh yes, there we go. Hello, Becca. We saw Becky's all round, look. And of course we've got Jane too. Hope everybody's well. Are you well, Heather?
I am, yes. I feel a bit more balanced this week. It's been an interesting time, but and there's been much magic afoot, which has helped. So yes.
Yes, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Right, now I've got a banner here somewhere. Where is it? I'm going to put this banner up. I hope you can see that.
Ooh,
can you see that, Heather?
I can see that, so it's definitely there.
Good, because I've got my screen on blind bastard mode, so I can actually read stuff.
So it's about 3 feet high, is it?
Something like, well, it's kind of like takes up the whole screen, and me and Heather are about this big each, just really tiny.
That's probably a good thing, actually.
Because I don't need to know what I look like, and I don't really need to know what Heather looks like, but I do need to know if there's anything interesting to see. So yeah. There we go. So yeah, which means of course I can't see what that says. Yes. Oh, there we go. So what are you drinking?
I'm on a Newcastle Brown.
I'm on the slow gin, the homemade slow gin. Cheers.
Cheers. It's that time of the week.
Ooh, dear. It did go down the wrong way.
Yes, you're not meant to inhale it.
Now she tells me. Talking of wind, I have been called.
Oh, that was really very messy.
Sorry. Oh God. So I got called Dot Cotton yesterday because I was in a moot meeting and I had a fag sticking out of my mouth and I'm going, oh my neck. So that was yesterday's got called Dot Cotton. But today I feel like Dorothy because it is so windy outside. It's like the BBC sound effects department in here today.
Yeah.
So windy. And I feel like Dorothy and her house might just blow away. But then it'll have to land on me, won't it? Because then I'm the Wicked Witch of the West. Or Southeast, whichever. Oh, there we go. Right. Now then, what we got here? I'm going to have to put these on because I still can't see them. Make it bigger again. There we are. Becky's everywhere. Becky says yes, absolutely.
Oh, there are many.
Yeah. There we are. Slow Gin, cheers. Yuki Brown. No, we're not doing the poo convo.
No.
I like the poo convo, but no, we're not doing that one again.
No. That was last week.
Oh, dear. So, actually, most of the conversations that I've had this week, I was saying earlier, most of the conversations this week seem to have been either regarding shadow work. Of course, that's, sort of deep personal introspection, and I've been doing lots and lots and lots of that this week. But genuinely, the conversations just seems to have reverted back to ghosts and experiences of the paranormal and stuff like that. And actually, that really interests me. So, from an interest point of view, it's been a super week for me. So, yeah, I'd like that. Yeah. Yeah. Now then. Right. Oh, we've got jewellery sales in as well. Hello.
Hello.
So we're after some questions. If anyone's got any questions, of course, as always, as it says in the little banner thing at the bottom, if you've got any questions, then obviously please let us know. Otherwise, we're just going to witter, basically. And I know everyone likes a bit of a wittering, but oh, we've got Tina in as well. Hi, Tina.
Hi, Tina.
Lovely. You feeling a bit better, I hope? Tina's not been feeling on top of the world recently, and she's been having a bit of a tough time. So hopefully she's feeling a little bit better. Hopefully, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. One of the things, talking of the sort of the crossover between shadow work and ghost and paranormal and stuff, got me thinking this morning about my doppelganger. That was an interesting thing. It just suddenly popped up into my head. And she was really, I think she's a genuine person. I don't think she's, one of the ethereal doppelgangers that some people seem to have. Tina's in bed, and I hope you do feel better soon. Yeah, so she wasn't one of the ethereal doppelgangers that some people seem to have. I think she was a genuine person. But people genuinely, even my father mistook her for me. And the reason that he realised that she wasn't me was when he spoke to her and she replied, and it wasn't my voice. How weird's that?
That's quite convincing.
Yeah, I know. And the first time I became aware, do you want to know? First time I became aware of her, it was really weird. So I used to, most Saturdays, I used to go and visit my my boyfriend, or 16, and I used to go and visit my boyfriend who lived at the other end of a bus route. I was literally at one end at the bus stand, and he was at the other end at the other bus stand, sort of, I don't know, 15 miles away or whatever, 12 miles away. And this particular Saturday, unusually, I'd been in all day. Nobody knew I was in. But I'd been in upstairs in my bedroom. I wasn't allowed in when I was a kid. And I'd been in all day, and I hadn't got washed or dressed or anything like that until about 5 o'clock in the evening. I thought, I think I'll go and see my boyfriend. So I had a bath, got ready, did the hair, all the rest of it, and then went trotting up the road to go and get the bus. So the bus, where my bus stand was at the top of a very long, steep hill. It was about 1.5 miles long, this hill, very, very steep. And then it used to sort of do a loop and then go back down the hill. And where the bus stand was like, the beginning point. So I wandered up to the bus stop in all my regalia. And there was the bus waiting at the bus stand. So I got on the bus and took up my normal residence at the top, on the back seat at the top, where I could have a fag. In years that you could smoke on the bus.
Indeed.
That was a long time ago. Anyway, so and it was a bus driver and conductor job then, with the open back buses, and I'm showing my age now. The open back buses that had a conductor, sold you your ticket and so on. Anyway, so he came up the stairs and he said, "How did you get up here?" So I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "How did you get up here?" So I said, "I climbed up the stairs." Because I had no idea what he was talking about. And he said, "No, how did you get up here?" So I said, "Well, I don't know what you mean." He said, "How did you get up here?"
getting a bit weird by this stage.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, I have no idea what this man is talking about. So I said, well, I walked. He said, you can't have done. So I said, well, I did. I'm thinking, I did. I walked from my house to the bus stop, which was about a 10-minute walk. I walked from my house to the bus stop and then got on the bus and walked up the stairs. So I was answering what he'd asked me. And he said, you can't have done. So I said, well, I did. And he said, you can't possibly have done. I was like, what are you talking about? So he said, you can't possibly have walked all the way here. So I said, I've been at home all day and I walked to the bus stop and got on the bus and came up here. And what do you mean? And he said, you can't have done because I've just dropped you off at the bottom of the hill. So I said, you haven't. You haven't. Not me. I've been indoors all day. And he said, I have, and I know it's you because you're wearing the same clothes.
Wow.
At which point I'm like, this man's completely cracked. And I'm like, well, I'd like a bus ticket, please. And he just was completely freaked out by all of that. And I used to wear, this is in my sort of punk and goth, as if I'm not very punky and very gothy now, but proper goth stuff. And I used to wear sort of like fingerless lace gloves, and I used to wear lots and lots and lots of jewellery. I only wear some jewellery now, but I used to wear lots and lots. And he's like, you've got to have the same clothes and the hair, and it's like, okay. So, yeah. And then she became, seen quite a few times and other people spoke to her. But obviously the person that I took notice of that spoke to her and said, she's absolutely like you, was my dad. It's like, well yeah, wow.
What can you say?
Yeah, and he said the only reason he knew it wasn't me was because her voice is different. So isn't that bizarre? So yeah, but I do get quite a lot of the thing of oh, I know you. It's like, no, you don't. And I bet they know this other person, and they think they know me.
I've had that a few times. More often than not, somebody has said to me, "Aren't you the sister of?"
Yeah.
XYZ has assumed that, and I no, or I saw your brother the other day, and at the time it was like, well, I haven't got a brother, so that'd be very. But people thought people did think they knew me. And I mean, even these days, I still get that. People will say hello. I don't know who you are, and that could be partly because I'm actually a bit weird when it comes to not recognising people in different contexts. But actually, I'm pretty sure it isn't me.
Yeah.
That they know it's somebody very much like me.
Yeah, I know, it's bizarre. Maybe it's that person that they thought was me, because the people seem to get us muddled up too sometimes, don't they? So
well, they do, but I mean, we don't look that much alike. I mean, I think it's our energy is more similar than our actual.
Yeah, well, we said about our cat,
especially now I'm mad white-haired woman. Yes, we used to live.
Susie, Becky's written Susie up there, and that's referring to the time that somebody, I think I said on here already, when somebody thought that I was Susie from Susie and the Banshees. That was really funny. So there's some French chap trundling around thinking that he's got an autograph from Susie of Susie and the Banshees, but actually it's my paw print.
A lot of when I was a lot younger, people thought I did look a lot like her, but my hair would never quite do that because it just isn't.
Oh, my hair did do that.
Your hair texture is thicker than mine. Mine's too fine. But I still had people thinking that I must be something to do with it somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, good God, no. But
it's funny, isn't it?
It's funny.
Yeah. So Becky's saying, I agree, you're very different looking, but so close and share that same energy.
Well, we told everyone about our cats being highly confused because our cats assume we're one and the same. So when we're both in the same place at the same time, they don't quite know what to do with themselves. And Becky does.
I love that. I don't think I shall ever get over that as long as I live. It's just the most hilarious thing ever, isn't it?
It is. But
Fishy was looking for you for weeks after Halloween. He was looking for you for ages and ages.
Yeah.
Most put out.
He has said that Becky has the best hair. which is true. And I wish she could do something in my hair to make it look equally lovely, because it's really annoying me at the moment. It needs a rework.
Thank you. Don't do anything with it. Most of the time, I don't even brush it.
We do put colours in it.
I put colour in it every few months or so. Yeah.
But I need some reworking. I need some help. Yes, remedial help required, Becky.
Oh dear. Yeah. No, it's strange. You know, as I said before, I was watching a thing. Actually, it's a while ago now, about this this woman. She was a French woman. She had she's very well known and well documented for having an ethereal doppelganger, and that was interesting. I was watching a documentary on that. That was really interesting. Can't remember her name. I hate the fact that I forget names. It's annoying. But it was a good documentary, and it was a documentary because it's so well documented, even though it's a couple of 150 years ago, I think it was, over in France. But it was fascinating. You know, she was a teacher, and she was really, really good at her job, and all the pupils would see this doppelganger all the time. And sometimes the teacher would be sitting down, and the doppelganger would be mimicking writing on the blackboard, and obviously wasn't able to because she was not solid, but just basically looked like two people in the same room, and one would be sitting at the desk and one would be up at the blackboard writing, or vice versa, or one would be outside the window while the teacher was teaching in class. And you know, as I say, and then obviously the parents got wind of it from these kids. The parents would get wind of it, and then, bless her, she used to have to get moved on from school to school because the parents didn't like it. You know, the kids didn't seem to be bothered by it, but obviously they told their parents, and the parents didn't like it, so the teacher got moved on. Sad, isn't it?
Did the teacher not actually? Was the teacher not able to see it? It was just the kids.
Everybody could see.
Everyone could see.
This.
That's amazing.
Yeah, everybody could see it. So the woman whose name I've forgotten, she couldn't see her. She couldn't see her at all. But everybody else around could. And as I say, and it's, you know, there's literally thousands of documents on this, and I think it started when she was a toddler. You know, so it's really bizarre, but it's fascinating. I'll put a link to it in the comments after this, actually, because it's such a good documentary. It's interesting.
Yeah,
I'll put a link to it in the comments. It's really good, really interesting. So, but it's also sad at the same time. You know, she was a really good and competent teacher and a really lovely person, and yet she didn't stay more than a couple of months anywhere, really, because she had to be moved on. It just, she didn't fit the bill. Shame, isn't it?
Yeah, that's really sad, because it's not like she could actually meet her doppelganger and question and have any kind of an interaction. It's just she was just being told this. Part of her must have disbelieved it, and part of her must have thought, is my life not my own? It's horrible, really.
But it was just like, as I say, it was more of a sort of ghostly spectre, this one, rather than obviously my doppelganger is a physical person. I'd say obviously, I'm assuming she is. But with this one, she wasn't, and sometimes she would not be around. Sometimes she'd be a few feet away, and sometimes she'd be 100 meters away. But yeah, really bizarre, really bizarre.
Strange.
Yeah. So yeah, really strange. What have we got here? Oh, Becky's saying her daughter will sort your hair out, Heather. That'll be nice.
When we can. And my fringe needs a rework, and I part of me is half tempted to want to cut it all off, and it does need cutting, clearly, but I mean, I'm a long hair person. I don't want long hair, so I'd quite like a sort of black blended in, because I've got so washed out now that it's actually a brown, that my natural hair colour was never anything like this, so it feels more artificial than anything I've had before. So something needs to I'd like an ombre effect, but with black, because then that would work, really, because my hair was very nearly black naturally. Not that quite as dark as Becky's, but I've still got sort of very dark bits underneath, as you can see. But, like a badger. I'd like it done properly badger-like, because if you're going to go badger, badger, badger,
yeah,
it properly. Yeah. Badger, badger, badger.
Uh-oh. Oh, dear.
Oh dear.
Yeah. I think he said that Edie Brickell wrote a song about this. Oh, I have to look that up.
Oh,
Definitely. Yeah, I'll have to look that up too. That'd be good. So yeah, so it's been an interesting kind of week, really. As I said, I've found out all sorts of things. The thing that I spent ages and ages looking up on Monday, was it Monday? I think it was Monday. Oh God, I've lost track of the week. I'm not used to being off, and I've lost track of the days. Monday or Tuesday, I forget now. I was reading the story again, supposed true haunting of Dear David. Have you heard of that one? It's the modern day one. Have you heard of that one?
I haven't. No, tell.
Oh my God. So I was watching it was Monday, and I was watching, there's a Facebook channel that I really enjoy, and it's called Dorian Deathly. And Dorian Deathly. And he does Tales of the Fireplace, but he also actually, for a living, he's a tour guide of York, haunted York. But obviously, through the lockdowns that we've had, he's had to branch out and do different things. So he does this broadcasting on YouTube, and it's excellent. Actually, you get a spare hour here and there, then look it out. And he was talking about this. He was doing Tales of the Fireplace, which is people will send in stories of personal experiences and so on. And there was comment that he'd made about this Dear David story, and if anyone was interested in looking at it or reading it, then he'd put links afterwards, blah blah blah. So I clicked on the link, and it's a story that this chap does from 2017 to 2018, and it's documented via Twitter, and it's all his experiences of what happens to him. He's in New York, and what happens to him with video footage and all sorts of stuff over, it's about a 7 or 8 month period. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. It takes a long time to read it, really, really long time. Again, if you want to read that, I'll put a link in the comments for that as well.
Definitely.
It takes such a long time to read it. You have to put a good hour aside to read it all, because there's so many comments and so much video and photos and stuff to look at that all of it's put on Twitter. But what he's done is I can't remember the name of the website, but there's a website around that you can kind of condense all one thread, if you like, and obviously it's a thread on Twitter, and you can condense it all onto one website so that it all just comes up chronologically, so you can read it one thing after another. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So yeah, I'll put a link up for that. It's called Dear David. Yeah, Dear David. Yeah, if you look that up. But as I say, if you don't want to look it up and you want me to put the link up, then I'll do that afterwards. And yeah, it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And he, I shan't spoil it. I shan't say anything. It's just brilliant. So yeah, yeah, tempting as it is. But yeah, so that's good. As I say, so my whole week's been sort of taken up with shadow work and ghosts and paranormal. It's been fascinating. Oh, and of course a little bit of witchcraft.
Indeed.
Would you like to explain a little about that,
Heather? Well, without going into detail, we were having a bit of a conversation. I think it was after last week's, or was it probably end? But basically, I had an issue where I wanted some more effective communication and knowledge of what was going on within my family. Wanted to be more involved and get things to move forward. And so we had a bit of discussion about things to do, and I had done some of that work, and it kind of it felt like it completely backfired, because I had almost the opposite that I wanted in terms of an outcome. It's like, oh, okay. But in effect, when you stand back and look at it, it wasn't a negative thing. It did move things forward slightly. But I kind of went to Becky and said, "Oh, the magic I've done's backfired slightly. Can we discuss what happens now? What on earth do I do now?" And as it turned out, it then had to come down to being about communication primarily, and about freeing things up and allowing things to move forward. And it worked a bloody treat, because that was on the Saturday, and then the very next day on the Sunday, whole slew of information came through, a whole openness that hadn't happened before from where I hadn't expected it to come from, had meant that everything really has moved forward. Now we're in a much better position, and I'm not concerned or worried, and I feel included and involved in the whole process of what's going on. It's obviously to do with Dad's funeral and stuff, but you know, the issues around it have actually now just kind of melted away.
Do you know the phrase that comes to mind as you're explaining that is very much that you can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs. And yes, it did appear to backfire, and there was that whole horrible moment of stuff that you didn't want and all that sort of thing. But like I said, you know, you can't make an omelette without breaking a few eggs. It's one of those things that sometimes it has to dip before it comes back up. And ultimately, everything seems to be very much better now, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and it is that thing that working magic, however specific you are, will deliver what needs to happen, not necessarily what you think you want.
Yeah.
And sometimes,
funny way of talking to you sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very funny way of working, but the certainly the lesson I got from it, and what confirms that I was right, is that you don't dash into doing things.
Yeah.
Hold off. Sometimes the most difficult thing to do is to do nothing at all, and to actually just go, "Whoa, hang on, let's just let this rest. Let's not fire anything off emotionally." Because however much you can say to yourself, "I can stand back from this," when it's something that is very horribly personal, you have to know yourself well enough that you can't be that detached from things, and that you are not necessarily going to be as clear in your thinking or as logical as if you was some at one remove, which is the joy of having friends you can talk to, like this one. But it helps, and there, you know, and there are other delightful friends who are also looking out for you and are kind of getting cross on your behalf, and that in a way that makes it far worse.
Absolutely.
Really? Yeah. So, no, I had to step back from it and understand they were coming from the right place, but it wasn't the right action. You shouldn't always take action. Sometimes you have to just go.
Thing then, don't you? And that's not what you want. Definitely.
Yeah. You don't want to cause a major issue that may never be resolved, or that could be terminal in terms of family relations, and that can happen, and it does in families quite easily over very small things. So when it's over big things, you kind of have to think very carefully and treat it as a long-term game. You're playing a long game. You're not looking for small victories. You're talking about a long game here, where you're trying to think of what is best in the long run for everybody concerned, and you don't want someone to lose in order to you feel like you've got some sort of victory under your belt, because that's not what it's about, and it shouldn't be about that anyway. So it's been interesting. It's been very learning curve for you, wasn't it? A learning curve. It's like, I mean, I'm still cautious, I'm still realistic and a little wary. I'm not sort of completely naive, but I am also think that it'll be okay, that we'll get through it okay, and that we're not going to have any major issues. I won't be the one causing them, that's for sure. I will make sure that I do not.
Yeah. So without obviously going into any details, what variety of magic did you use?
I used, well, I did some candle work, and I did a sigil onto the candle for what I wanted to happen, but I had used a blue candle, and I'd written on it, it was more about, because blue is water and flowing and communication, and it was all to do with that, and and it was that whole feeling of everything just flowing again, not feeling stuck, and that was the feeling I had, that I wanted things to relax and to sort of move forward rather than becoming blocked, which is what I felt. I was blocked. I thought their whole energy around it was blocked. Other people's energy was blocked. There was a lack of understanding. And
really, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the magic I did, again, I did a fair amount in my head that night. I did a lot of what we call hermetic magic, I suppose. But I also did some of the practical stuff as well. So yeah, you know, it was just trying to stand back and not fiddle around too much, if you know what I mean, not try and push the universe to do something, because the universe is going to do what it's going to do. Magic kind of may speed that up slightly, but you can't go against the flow of the universe, because that just doesn't work.
Sometimes it's just a catalyst for something, isn't it?
Yeah, and you have to work out what the flow of the universe is and how you're going to adapt to that. You're not trying to bend everything to your will. It isn't about willing something in that sense.
Yeah.
It's about seeing where things were, having a bigger picture. We have to go, actually, yeah, we just need things to flow on and to progress, and for everybody to do what they've got to do and not get too on their high horses about things, including myself, has to be said. And yes.
Was it just candle magic that you used, or did you use was it just candle magic you used, or did you use any other props, for want of a better word?
Yeah, no, it's true. I didn't actually use any props because, again, this was happening sort of quite late on the Saturday night. So I just, when I went to bed, I took myself into a very special place that I go to when I'm doing my hermetic magic, which is a kind of an inner sanctuary, a quiet place I go to that's in nature, that's very familiar to me. That's where I go to do that work. So it's like a magical space already there.
Heather, you mean in your mind, don't you, rather than
I do. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. This is an internal space. This is I use trance state a lot because it is my natural go-to thing. That's so I go there in my mind, and then I meditate for a while. I try and envisage what I would like to happen. I put intent into a resolution, into things working out. I see the people being happier. It's a huge variety of things that I do. So quite often, by the time I go into dreaming, which often happens at the end of it, then that will also help to unblock and solve some of the problems. If that makes any sense. It probably doesn't, but
So with your sigil, is that one that you created yourself?
Yes. I always make up my own. I know people have symbolism for things, and there are books, God knows there are books written about these things. I tend to make my own. What I tend to do is I'll have a phrase that I've thought about very carefully, because you do, for every angle, make sure it can't be misinterpreted. And then what I will do is I quite often take the first letter of each word, and then I will weave those into a pattern, and then that's what I will use on the candle or the piece of paper or whatever I'm doing it onto. And it makes quite a pleasing, it almost looks like a mandala when you've done it. I mean, a very badly drawn one in my case, but yes. It's so you've got something physical, a physical representation. So I did that in IRL, and then I also repeated that in trance state as well.
Yeah. Cool. So did you use anything else other than that? Did you use any crystals or oils or herbs or poppets or anything else? Did you feel the need to do anything more than just candle magic?
Well, on the first night, when I thought it had backfired, I did use a poppet. And I made a wax poppet. And I did some knot magic as well, because we talked about using this. I thought, well, let's just do everything and throw everything at it.
Just everything at it, yes.
Exactly. Throw everything at it. So I had done that, and I'd also put the sigil on the poppet. And I tend to, it's a bit like me with a recipe. I will always plagiarize a recipe and do something completely different, make it my own, because that's how that works.
And I think that should be done too.
Yes.
Recipes and witchcraft, actually.
Indeed. We have the same approach to any of that. They're for guidance only.
Yeah, exactly. Unless guidance and inspiration.
Dragon's blood are involved. Yes. I did burn my dragon's blood candle for quite a while as well, because that's very trancey, that smell. That really,
it really is
quite easily.
Yeah.
So having that for a while is a great
idea. I need to get a couple of those because I've burnt mine down. So Becky, if you're listening, I need some more.
Bulk orders coming your way. Candle in the world.
Yeah, definitely. I need some more of them. Oh dear. But it's good that you've had positive results, even though temporarily it seemed like it wasn't a positive result. That was your eggs breaking, wasn't it? And
it was.
Yeah. And then everything sort of settled down, and there you are with your lovely omelette, which is not too bad.
It's things are going the way they should be going, and I feel a lot happier in my mind that everything is pretty much in hand, and I'm not due any bizarre surprises, which I can do without on that level. But yeah.
Well, that's good. So Becky's saying, is that one of mine? Yes, absolutely. It's one of yours, love.
Dragon's blood. Best candle in the world.
Everybody is get aware. Becky Bakery makes the most amazing candles, and my favourite is the Dragon's Blood.
Yeah, mine too.
Yes. Yes. So everybody needs to know. Everyone in the whole world needs to know about them because they're mocked. Thank you. I shall PayPal you that. Cool.
Yes.
Now, what have we got? Have we got some peeps saying things? I think we might have.
James popped in there.
I know. Hang on a moment. Hang on. Oh, where are we? Oh, dear me. What we got? Oh, yes. So Jane says sigils are great. I was a bit doubtful at first, but they really do have power. Yeah, absolutely. They don't. I'm going to put that on the screen. There.
Yeah.
Yeah, they absolutely do have power. They really do. And there's all sorts of different ways of doing them. Anyone that's watching that's not familiar with either what a sigil is or what they can do, basically it's a random pattern that you create yourself, very often using letters. Some people, like Heather was explaining, will use, when she's made up a phrase that she's thought carefully about, she'll use the beginning letters of each of those words and then turn that into a pleasing pattern. Some people will do it quite methodically, and they'll take out the vowels and any double letters and that kind of stuff and see what consonants are left and then turn those into a thing. Bottom line is, if you just randomly pick out any letter of any of the words or just anything, it doesn't matter as long as it's pleasing to you and it does what you need it to do once you've thought about what you want it to do. That's the thing. And then it's the action of intent whilst you're creating that sigil. That's where your energy and intent goes, isn't it? So well, yeah.
And they often come into talismans, which is a whole area on its own. I taught many years ago in wonderful workshops about talismans and how they're more involved. There is more in a talisman, but it's basically an enlarged version of the same thing. I find, and that they are incredibly powerful. It's if you approached it in the right way. I've used them myself for things, and even my son, who professes to be not interested, actually did one for his 11 plus.
Did he? Wow.
It worked.
Him. Yeah,
it
worked.
Yeah.
But they're very focusing, aren't they? I did a workshop a few years ago now. I think it was maybe 2. Anyway, a while ago. At one of the moots, the real life moots that I used to run. Seems like a long time ago. I did a sigil workshop, and I've got everyone to create these sigils and then to put them on paper. And then I got them to create the same sigil with salt by pushing the salt over the sigil. And Susie, I don't even know if Susie's in. She might be, but Susie that sometimes comes up here. Hi, Susie. I didn't say hello. Hello. And she was saying it was one of the most difficult things that she'd ever done, pushing this salt onto the sigil to make the same pattern out of the salt as was on the sigil. And I said, it made you concentrate, didn't it? Yes, it did. So, and that's the thing. You've got to really think about it. Jane also goes on to say, one simple candle spell can do the job of several complex ones. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes simple's best.
Simple, I find, is best, especially in the practical world when you've got other considerations, other people, time, space, etc. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and it can all be very nice being very convoluted, but the more convoluted it is, the more possibility there are for you to forget a step or forget a vital component or a minor component even. Then that might be a pivotal point, and if you make it overcomplicated, then that's when mistakes are more likely to happen.
And you can lose focus too if it's very drawn out. That's the thing. A cat can walk across and knock it over, which is what sort of happens to me.
Or purposely shove it over. Yes. Don't talk to me about cats. They're not my favourite animals at the moment. Well, they are.
They are. They always will be.
But not my favourite. Are you, Bert? No.
What did you bring in?
Garnish.
Yeah, but you found the animal that was with the garnish, didn't you?
Yeah, and then I found more garnish. Oh,
God. What, he brought in a whole family?
Yeah, there was loads of them. So, so the original garnish, for anyone that's wondering what I'm talking about, when Bert brings animals in, dead or alive or halfway between the worlds. He likes to bring in, he's been watching MasterChef clearly, and he likes to bring in just a little bit of garnish. Sometimes it's a leaf, sometimes it's a piece of grass, just sort of, casually laid over the carcass. And sometimes the carcass gets up and wanders off, and all that's left is the bloody garnish. So anyway, I found some garnish a couple of days ago, and I was like, oh no. Looked around the kitchen for any telltale signs. No blood splatter. Okay, fine. Maybe he's eaten it and whatever. Went out of the kitchen, came back in again, was making myself some soup. I could hear this noise. And I looked down, and there was a very large mouse with an incredibly long tail going on the floor, and he was licking up some of the water that dripped off my saucepan lid.
Oh.
Just by my foot. So I said, oh, hello. And he didn't move. He carried on licking up the water. He was obviously very thirsty. So I found my trusty sieve and put my trusty sieve over the top of him. And he looked a little bit surprised, but didn't really move or wiggle. And he left his tail out. He didn't sort of snap it in quickly or anything, or try and get out or push or anything. He just sort of sat there. So I put some paper under him, and off we went down the lane to go and find my preferred spot, which is a smooth. So I took my little mouse big mouse to the smooth and released him. But then he didn't want to leave, and he kept jumping back on the seat. And I'm like, no, that way. And he's like, oh, you're my saviour.
It was definitely a mouse.
Well, I don't know. He was a whopper. He might have been a rat, but he had a furry tail. And obviously, I'm told that rats don't have furry tails. I don't know if they do. Anyway, Bert is not my favourite cat. Are you, Bert? No. And then he keeps pointing at the food bowl and...
Yeah, we all...
You can carry on being hungry, mate, and I'm not changing your food just because you've brought in some garnish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Horrible cat. Anyway, I digress. Oh dear, where are we? Now Becky said that she uses the rose cross. Now I don't know anything about this.
Me neither.
No. I'm not quite sure what tradition it comes from. I've heard the phrase and stuff used, but it's not something that I do personally. So I can't comment on that because I don't know anything about it personally, because it's not something that I do or have looked into. So perhaps Becky, you'd be so good as to say a few bits about that, because I can't comment on that. What else we got? What have we got here? Laura Tempest, Laura Tempest Zakros book and blog are inspiring and encouraging people to build their own sigils. Now I've not heard of her. Do you know her, Heather?
I don't know. I was thinking, well, she sounds right up my street, because, I mean, the best magic is the one that comes from your heart and your own workings, if you like. I mean, nobody works the same way as the next person. We have similarities, obviously, but that's building your own anything is got to be a good thing, because you put your intention into how it goes together rather than just picking something out of the book. Although there are beautiful letters. I know people will use witchy alphabets, and there are many or runes or different things, and if something resonates with you, then use it. But I tend to find a letter is what it's simple.
Exactly.
And I'm rather simple, so I tend to want something simple.
Exactly. Yeah, keep it simple, stupid. Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing, isn't it? Yeah. Have I missed something? I have her book. Susie, hello. She says she has her book. It's amazing. No, I've not heard of her. I should have to look her up. I was saying yesterday, I was spent ages during the moot trying to find a specific book about the black dog. The legend of the black dog, which I've got.
Yeah.
I've got a limited edition rare book about the black dog. And I know I've got it somewhere. Could I find it? No. So I said, I am going to reorganise my bookshelves. That's what I'm going to do tomorrow. Did I do that today? No. Got sidetracked. Something shiny, probably. Yeah. So I've done lots and lots of other things today. Nothing particularly helpful, but I have done lots of things. I've been busy doing crawl all day. And have I organised my bookshelves yet? No. I'm hoping I might do that tomorrow. Mind you, I did spend rather a long time on the phone to my former workplace.
Mm.
I had an exit interview today. It was supposed to have been a 15-minute interview, but it took me 55 minutes to tell them what I thought of them.
And basically rip them a new one.
I wrote it all down. I could hear her tapping away on the other end of WhatsApp. Oh dear, yeah, I think she regretted it. There was a sort of a small amount of time where we did wonder if it was actually necessary for me to have an exit interview or not. So when she phoned today, I thought, I'm not sure what this is quite. And she said, oh, we need you to find out why you've left and what you think of the company. And I thought, well.
How long have you got?
So yeah, 15 turned into 55 minutes. It was pretty marvellous. Felt much better after that.
Vintage.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And she's like, oh, we'll have to speak to the office about that. Yes, you will.
If only you'd done it at the time, it wouldn't have been a problem.
I did. That's the point. And I didn't listen. She's very sad, but there you go.
Oh yeah, nothing's going to change, is it? And that's what makes it seem all the more pointless. The fact that you've told them on many occasions exactly what is wrong and how they could put it right, and they've done absolutely sod all. Yeah. Even down to asking you to work when you'd clearly left. I mean, you know.
Yeah, that was
fuckwittery of the highest order.
I know you've left. Can you come in? No.
Yeah, we're a bit short of people. Oh, do you wonder why?
I haven't got anyone to cover. She left 4 weeks ago. We haven't got anyone to cover. Oh, no, busy.
Fine. Bye.
Oh, dear. It does make you wonder, doesn't it? Sometimes I wonder how these companies continue to operate, to be honest. I'm not naming names. I'm not saying a word, but oh, dear. Yes. And as Becky says, I have broken free, most definitely. God, get the weight off your shoulders is brilliant.
Oh, well, I get that can of Tanglefoot open.
Oh,
it's nearly the weekend.
Still unopens. That's just criminal. Come on, Jane, do it. Do it. Hurry. Bad influence. Yeah. I'm sure that was on my report at some point in time.
Bad influence.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was on mine somewhere.
Oh, God. Yes. Oh, dear. Did you manage to do anything with the new moon? Apart from watch it smiling in the sky?
Well, I was using its energy to help me with my magic generally, because it was about about putting energy into things and making something happen. It was lovely because I did get to see that sliver, although it's been very odd. But I just love when you get that tiniest tiny edge. It's just the most beautiful. There's only one night you actually really get that, and then it's, I mean, now we're practically half full, but I mean, it's just beautiful to see it at any stage. I've always been fascinated by the moon. I always will be. I think it's just, I don't care that people have been on it, or to me it will always be magical, and none less magical for that.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm totally in awe of it, actually. I think it's amazing. It's just so beautiful to look at, isn't it? It makes me smile, and and they say that that's where the idea of the Cheshire Cat came from, don't they?
What, the moon?
The crescent moon. When the Cheshire Cat disappears and all you can see left is his smile.
It is very, very similar, isn't it?
It is, that's what they say. Which found out years ago, and I rather liked. And every time I sort of see it when it's like that, it's like, oh, it's smiling. It's the Cheshire Cat. Oh, yeah. I love that. I think it's brilliant. Oh, like a bit of Alice in Wonderland, Alice Through the Looking Glass. I love that. That's total escapism, isn't it? It's just brilliant.
And completely magical, really. The whole transformation, shape-shifting, the weirdness of it all is completely wonderful. Yeah,
no, it's just marvellous, isn't it? I absolutely love it. I haven't read it for a long time. That's something I want to rectify, actually. I should get that back out again.
Sometimes it's nice to revisit things again because you're coming at it from a very different perspective. And I've done that with certain books over the years where I read them when I was very young and I read them in my 20s, and then I picked them up again, and it's like reading a different book because your perspective changes.
Yeah.
And it shows how much you change. The fact that you go back to the book and think it'll be so familiar, but you notice different things in it, or you're drawn to different characters because there's you resonate with them on some level, whereas you wouldn't have done all those years ago. Fascinating, really.
Yeah, that's very true. Actually, I like to do this exactly that for that reason myself. Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah. Oh, hello.
Who's pinged?
That's me. I'm finally. I'm finally popular. No.
Oh, did you dear?
Oh, yeah, certainly wasn't at school. God. Never mind. Yeah. What we got here? Love that sliver. It's like Disney's Cheshire Cat. Oh, there you go. Yeah, Cheshire Cat. Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, they do say that's where he got the idea from. How true that is, I don't know. I don't know whether some reporter went there and poked something in the man's face and said, "Now, Lewis Carroll, is that what you thought of?" No
idea. Don't know. Mind you.
Sometimes you wonder whether, what's put down as historical fact has just been speculation on behalf of the reporter, stroke journalist, stroke whoever. It does make you wonder, doesn't it?
A huge amount of what's taken for granted as being actual history is just someone's interpretation on it from their particular point of view.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it true. I mean, the thing I've noticed, and this is something I've sort of accidentally got into watching, is ended up watching that series, The Crown. I don't know if you probably, it's to do with the royal family. I've never been big on the royal family, but seeing it all, and you literally sit there watching it, but you're sitting there googling it because you want to know what is true and what isn't, because it's quite realistic the way they do it. But you think, oh, is that accurate though? So you have to fact check.
Yeah,
and it's been
great history down. It's his story. Isn't it?
I mean, it's quite cleverly done, but what it does is it makes you have a certain amount of sympathy with these people, but also realise how screwed up they are and how they perpetuate the screwed upness through the family. So psychologically it's fascinating, but in terms of actual history and the royals, as it were, I'm not so sure. But it's that whole thing of you see things, seeing the person young and what happens to them, and then you see what they become when they're older and how very unpleasant by and large they can tend to be. But it's as a result of what's happened when they were younger.
Yeah.
But the whole thing just repeats. The next generation suffers.
Doesn't it, over and over again?
Yeah. So it was interesting from that point of view, I think. But you try and empathize with the character at one stage, and then you absolutely think they're awful and ghastly in another episode. So they don't all come out of it particularly well. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, really? Is that the one with Olivia Colman in it?
Yes. Yeah, she does the older queen. Yeah. They reckon there'll be one more series, but obviously it's starting to it'll get a lot more current, and they can't get too current because, well, I don't know, they'll get sued or something on the way they got away with what they did, to be honest.
Yeah.
All the protagonists are still alive, or most of them.
Difficult, isn't it? What was the film that Helen Mirren played the Queen, and it was centered around Lady Di's death? What was that one?
Yeah, she did the Queen, didn't she?
Was that the Queen? Was that called the Queen?
I think so. I mean, I love Helen Mirren. I think she's bloody brilliant in whatever she does.
Yeah, I do.
And I quite enjoyed that. But I much preferred her in Catherine the Great. I much preferred her in that.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I like her. I think she's brilliant.
I think, rather than the movie. I'm trying to remember now. You just everything's a blur.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I watch so little. Well, I don't watch TV at all, especially since I dropped it on my foot. Yeah. November, I wanted to watch one program which lasted 1 hour, and I did watch one program that lasted 1 hour. And then the following day, I was hoovering, forgot it was on the shelf, and the backdraft of the Hoover blew it off the shelf, and it landed across on my foot, and then bounced across the bloody floor.
It's not a very big television.
Brilliant.
It should be said.
Absolutely brilliant. I've watched TV for 1 hour in October since February, and now I can't watch it anymore. So there we are.
You can watch most things on your computer, thank goodness. So
Laptop.
most things you can, but yeah.
Yeah, what an idiot though. Did not hurt.
I bet it did.
Yes. Fortunately, it wasn't a very large TV. But then I haven't got a very large toe.
But the impact would have been felt, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did swear. Yes.
Yeah, so we'll just sit as Nigel and I sitting there watching it and just saying, families, eh? You know, because I always used to say many years ago, I always said, oh, well, I wouldn't want to be a royal. And people thought you were mad because they're like, oh, but all the money. And like, I wouldn't want that life in a million years. You have no privacy. You have no, it's like people who want extreme fame. It's like, you do not want that. That is not a healthy way to live a life. And of course now people understand that, but back then they didn't. They were like, oh, wouldn't you want to be a princess and marry Prince Charles? I'm like, no. Why would
you? No. My ex-husband was at their wedding, you know.
I'm not surprised. Why am I not surprised? He can lig his way into anything.
No, he was a squaddy, so he was there. And he was in Prince Charles's regiment. So he was there in whatever capacity. Which I could never quite work out. But anyway. I used to trot that one out from time to time, you know. Oh, I was at their wedding. Yeah, I know.
Yes. It's been noted.
I know.
Yeah.
I mentioned it. Oh dear.
Becky seems to be sitting in an interesting lecture with a physicist about the cycles, etc.
Cycles? Cycles of what?
Not bicycles. Ball candles. No.
Yeah.
Oh dear. You're not putting him on pause for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Jane says, "Who wants to be a royal? You have to work until you're 90-something." See, I mean,
could have chosen not to.
Well, I suppose she could have abdicated, couldn't she?
Retired, I feel, would have been but no.
Yeah.
The sun and everything. Oh, she's getting the whole lot.
The moon, the sun, everything. Oh, blimey, lucky you.
Lucky you.
Lucky you. Hello, fella.
The joy of
this quite a bit, wasn't it? We'll be on it for hours.
Just wait.
You'll have an ice cream, Rex. You do get an ice cream at the interval at the cinema. Just reminding.
Yeah.
Hour and a half interval ice cream. Oh dear. What we got here? People who choose not to get talked about for a very long time. What's that then?
I've missed something. There's either a word missing from that sentence or I've really missed something.
Yeah. Who do you want to be a royal? You have to work till you're 90-something. People talk about you all the time. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
No.
Right.
Mind you, there's some people that, I don't know, just go all out to want to be famous for any old reason at all, don't they? Whether it's because of what they do or what they look like or what they can achieve, or I'm like, really, is that really what will boil your life down to? You know,
a little bit of fame is fine.
Yeah,
extreme fame, you know, wanting to be hugely famous, that destroys people's lives. That really eats away at who they are because they can't be themselves.
No, I'd hate that. I really would. I'd hate it. Yeah. About abdicating, they don't let you forget it. Oh God, no, I bet they don't either.
There was a lot of
did.
Yeah, there was a lot of that in the show. Always harping back to the past.
No, it's a program that I've not seen, as I say, because clearly TV and me don't get on.
No.
I shall never forget the very first day when they brought brought out the massive TVs. My ex-husband always really wanted to be the first person to have any kind of new technology at all. So we'd gone from, you know, sort of normal sized TVs, and then suddenly they brought out these great big, like 4 foot, 5 foot jobs. Do you remember? It was almost overnight. They brought these massive TVs out. And I came home from wherever I'd been, I don't remember. And while I'd been out, he used to do all sorts of house renovations and house changes while I was out. So sometimes he'd move doors and windows and stuff just while I'd gone to the supermarket to go and get food for an hour and a half. It was really disconcerting.
Really silly.
Couldn't find where the kids were because I couldn't get into the bedroom because he'd moved where the bedroom door was. And anyway, while I was out, he'd got this TV. I think he might have had that stashed. And he'd built this corner cupboard just as I went into the kitchen, from the living room into the kitchen. And I shall never forget, I hadn't noticed it, God knows how, because this thing was huge. And he hit the remote control just as I walked past it, and the news came on. And I was confronted with a 3 foot Moira Stewart head.
That's scary.
No idea how frightening that was. Nobody was standing next to the TV when someone's head is 3 foot and Moira Stewart's going, well, hello. And I'm like, whoa!
No.
Oh, God. I can never forget that as long as I live. I mean, that's coming up for 30 years ago now. It frightened the living daylights out of me.
Yeah, nobody needs to see that someone's face that close up, because it's never going to look that good. And it's
not joking. And because the telly was so big, it was literally like 3 foot.
Oh, they are. They're enormous. You go into any of the big shops now. I mean, we were in John Lewis or something. We were looking for something else. Had to walk past these televisions, and they're just. Oh, my cat over there, Tinker, moaning. Literally, I mean, we're in a small end of terrace Victorian house. I don't want a television that is sort of 5 foot from corner to corner.
No.
I don't want to be pressed against the back wall because Jeremy Clarkson's ugly fizzog has appeared on the screen. It's like, no.
No. Well, as I say, if you're going into the kitchen to make beans on toast and Moira Stewart goes, good evening, it's terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Don't do it. Right. Lovely lady, but my God, she frightened the crap out of me. She really did.
Well, larger than life.
She really was. Yeah. Becky says, Jane says, big TVs take the fun out of going to the cinema. Actually, yeah, I'd agree with that. Although the money side of going to the cinema takes the fun out of going to the cinema.
I haven't been for years, but then we got a bigger telly because we knew we weren't going to be able to go out. So it's like, we're going to be sitting here watching a lot of movies. Let's get a decent telly.
Yeah. So, I think if they brought their prices down, I was going to say a bit. They need to bring them down a lot. They're really expensive to go to the cinema, isn't it? And actually, I really like going to the cinema. I like the whole culture of queuing up and going in and being excited, and then, you know, waiting for Pearl and Dean to finish doing their thing and stuff.
When I was a kid, I liked going to the cinema when I was a kid, but I'm not so sure these days because it's quite you don't have them in the town centre anymore. They're all in these horrible, nasty complexes outside where they serve food.
They do have some in town centres. There's one in Oxted that I've now been to. My daughter's been to about 4 or 5 times, I think, and it's amazing. And it's very sort of boutiquey. And it's brilliant. Oh, it's gorgeous. So you go in and there's maybe a dozen or 15 or 20 seats, but they're like great big sofas and big squashy armchairs, all individual rather than the rows and rows of the big box seats, you know.
They've got one in Broadstairs like that, a small cinema that's like a sort of very Art Deco sort of style, old fashioned one. I'd love to go and see something like the Rocky Horror Show where everyone dresses up. I only ever saw it once and I didn't know what it was, and I wasn't dressed up because I had no concept. It's the first time I'd ever seen it. But I'd love to go and see it.
We'll find it out. Let me know and I'll come with you.
Yeah, we'll have to go and shock Tunbridge Wells.
But there's one actually in Reigate, and that's I've not been in that for years actually, to be fair, because having moved here, obviously we ended up having Service is closed. So yes, I've not been to that one. But that's quite a small one, and that again's in the town centre rather than these big multiplex. Big
Yeah, I
places.
don't like the multiplex thing.
No,
Yeah, I
I'm
like the littler
not.
ones.
Yeah. Boutique cinema in Addlestone. Oh, I like Addlestone. Yeah, they're lovely actually, Susie, aren't they? They're great. Becky saying, "Let's go!" God, yes! Rocky Horror, here we come.
That's
I'll
the thing.
put Susie on my agenda now because Susie and I were talking yesterday about going to Budapest. Well,
Oh,
actually, she was talking to a friend of ours, mutual friend of ours, Laura. Hello, Laura. She was talking about going to Budapest with Laura, and I was just the earwig, and I'm like, "Can I come?"
yeah.
Sure, please. And they very graciously said I could. They probably went, no, I'm joking. So yeah, but it sounded amazing, and I nearly got the opportunity to go to Budapest. I was going to say a few years ago, and then correct myself. Over 20 years ago.
Okay.
I don't like those moments. Oh yeah, it was about 3 or 4, 21 years ago. And it didn't happen because my brother's ex-girlfriend was having a moment.
Okay.
And that was when David, my brother, was living in Vienna. And Vienna and Budapest not that far apart. So we were going to go to Budapest for a little while I was staying with my brother, and it didn't happen. But yeah, but that's good because that means that it'll be all new to me when I go with Susie and Laura.
Lovely.
It sounds lovely. So yeah, Susie painted a very, very beautiful picture of it, and I liked it. Yeah, so it sounds good to me. So yeah, Rocky Horror and Budapest, perfect.
Excellent.
Oh dear, what does that say? Mother. What do you mean, mother? Oh, my daughter's an
Comment above.
They say it's best place ever. Right. Well, that's plenty of encouragement for me. I'll take everyone's word for it, and I'm off. I'm going as and when I'm allowed to. So there. Sounds good to me.
If only we can.
Oh, it's 9:10.
Oh, blimey. Wow. How did that happen?
I don't know. Last time I looked at the clock, it was 8:15, and it's now 9:10. I suppose we ought to say cheerio.
We should
Wow.
do. Let people get back to their lives.
Oh dear, sorry for keeping you all. Yes, we will be back next week, Heather, won't we?
We will.
We will. Have a marvellous week. Hope you enjoy yourselves, whatever you end up doing, whether it's absolutely nothing at all or whether it's very, very, very busy. Hope you enjoy every moment of it. And yeah, plenty of questions for next time, please. And we'll see you soon. Take care. Be safe. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Ooh, wrong button. That doesn't help, does it?